All right, guys, what is happening? I am back again with another training session. Getting caught up today. You guys should see like 2 uploads today. I'm going to hit this session added and then my push session as well. I'm a couple days behind here. This is my pull session from this past Monday, like the 21st, 22nd, something like that. Anyway, total session time for this pull session here was 1 hour and 24 minutes. The sessions are getting a little bit longer as I take some more rest, as we push volume higher, taking a little bit longer to get through the day. And that's all right. I like slow-paced sessions. I like being in the gym. I don't understand why some people get into this mentality of like, I have to be in and out. You know, I mean, if you have like other obligations and, you know, bodybuilding isn't something that you are, you know, married to, right? Then you obviously don't have to worry about that as much, or you know, you have other priorities you have to worry about instead, rather. But I like being in the gym, so it doesn't matter to me if it takes me 2 hours to get through a session, as long as it's productive, right? There's other metrics you should look at to gauge the productivity of a session rather than the total time in the session. But here, starting out with this single arm lat bias pull down, took a progression here, ended up doing 190 for both sets because I hit the high end of the range, which is 12 reps here on this first set. These felt really solid this week. The only complaint I have about these is they do from time to time kind of tweak my elbow a little bit on my right arm, like just my right arm. I don't know why. It doesn't do anything in my left, but my right arm, I feel a little funniness in my elbow sometimes on this, probably just due to the load. But they felt good. They moved good. This was honestly a great movement. 190 for 12, 190 for 10. So next week, the weight on the top set will go up. Depending on how many reps I get on the top set next week, I might also keep that weight the same for the second set. If I only hit like 8 to 10 reps on that top set next week, then I will drop, or I will keep the second set at 190. But if I hit like 12 on the top set next week, I'll probably go up to, you know, 195 on the second set as well, because that's what I'm going to go up to on that first set. It's just 195, 5-pound increase. Yeah, not a whole lot more to say about these. Again, they felt good. You know, my back, I feel like having this day fresh off of a rest day feels really, really good now. I'm glad we made that change. It's still kind of impacting my leg day a little bit, but as you guys will see when I get that uploaded tomorrow, it's really not that big of a deal, and I'm still making progressions on my leg day. So happy to be taking bigger progressions across everything rather than just a progression on one day. And then we are going to move into my new favorite movement for the week, or one of them, machine row. You will notice here, my chest supported machine row, that I ended up adding quite a bit of weight. Last week, I just hit 180 pounds on this, like 2 plates per side. This week went up to 270. Obviously, last week was my first week doing this movement, so the weight increase from that first week to the second week to third week or so is going to be big, just because I'm getting the movement dialed in. Last week realized I could do a whole hell of a lot more. So this is 270 for 17 and then 270 for 13. The rep goal here is 12 to 15. So next week, this weight will go up on the top set. Again, depending on how that feels, we'll probably go up on the second set as well. Right now, though, since I'm on the low end of that range on the second set with only 13 reps, with the goal being 12 to 15, it's most likely just going to stay the same. I'll probably end up just adding like, I don't know, 10 pounds per side, 20 pounds total on that top set. Again, because I can take bigger weight progressions, because this is still a fresh movement where I'm kind of getting it dialed in, and I know those progressions can come up a little bit quicker. I'll probably go up to 290 and then do 290 and 270 for my sets next week. But yeah, these felt really good. I love this movement. This machine is just great. Any machine where you have access to kind of unilaterally pull like this and adjust the handle or the grip placement here is always really good. You know, you can see I'm not pulling with a perfectly neutral grip, but very close to it, and that just feels great for me. I just love this movement in general, love this machine. This was really good. So yeah, 290, 270 is what we're going up to next week. This was 270 for 17 and then 270 for 13. And moving into my seated row, my V-grip cable row. Love this too. This is another movement that we added in. This is fucking awesome. This just feels great. It's one of my favorite movements. So simple, but so effective. I just love how this feels every time I get to do this. Took a progression here, I think. And yeah, I think we went up from 180. Did 185 for 14, 185 for 12, and then 110 for 21. So I hit my rep goal or exceeded it on every single set. The rep goal on the first and second set is just 10 to 12. So we hit 14 and 12. So the weight will definitely go up next week. Probably going to go up 10 pounds up to like 195. Might just do 190. We'll see. Depends on how it feels, as always. Last set dropped all the way down to 110, but the rep goal on that is 15 to 20 reps, and we hit 21. So normally I like to hit 22 before we increase the weight. I think I'll probably just throw 5 pounds on next week. Again, it depends on how I feel. If I get on this and my first sets fall short and I'm like, man, this didn't feel great, I'll keep that third set the same and just try to crank out an extra rep on it and go for 22 instead of 21. But I would rather throw on 5 pounds and then try and progress the weight a little bit here, since it's a lighter movement to begin with. But again, we'll see how it all feels. That's, it kind of comes down to how you feel on any given day with what you feel you're able to progress and what feels best to progress in the moment, right? You shouldn't go into a session with the mentality of, oh, I need to add 5 pounds today. I need to add, 10 pounds here, 5 pounds there. This set has to go up. Just feel it out, right? Obviously, the goal is always we want to add weight, we want to add reps, we want to improve the form or keep the form as perfect as it is if you really feel like you can't make any improvements. But you don't have to meet those. There are going to be days where you're not going to meet those, and you might have 1 or 2 weeks where you don't progress a movement, and then it just jumps up. Even if a jump up is just 1 or 2 extra reps, that's fine. Progress is progress. Especially as you get more advanced, you have to start taking the progressions where you can and understanding you're not just going to be throwing more weight on every week if you're maintaining good form. Yes, I could go in and I could add 5 or 10 pounds to every movement every week. And then after 8 weeks, I'm going to be doing the most dog shit movements of my life just because of how bad the form is, right? A lot of people will do that. They get so focused and hyper fixated on chasing the logbook, whether it's weight or reps, that they let arguably the more important factor fall apart, and that is the actual form, the actual function, the actual intended target muscle, and the connection to that target muscle within the movement. So you have to focus on that as a third avenue for progression. It's critically important. And then we are going to move into the hammer strength single arm high row lat bias movement next. I don't think I changed anything here this week. Maybe I did try, kind of. It's hard to notice that I changed anything, but I did try to pull myself forward a little more into the seat. This felt good. No complaints here this week. I think I kept the weight the same as last week, 170. Hit 170 for 16, 13, and 12. It was just a straight set all the way through. 10 to 15 rep goal here, so this felt pretty good. Looking at how the tail end of like my third set looks once we get to that, my extension back with my elbow is not as great as I would like it to be. So I may end up structuring this a little bit differently, like maybe just strip 20 pounds total off this for that third set and end up, dropping it down a little bit, kind of focusing on pulling through with that elbow a little bit better. But it didn't feel bad this week. It felt good, so no real complaints here other than, just taking little notes like that for myself to try and make improvements, which is the most important thing you can do. I don't know if I've mentioned it enough, but if you have the means to record yourself, whether it's on your phone, a spare old phone you have, a little shitty camera, if you have the means to record your training, record it. No one is going to think poorly of you for recording your shit, and if they do, fuck them. But the most beneficial thing you can do for yourself, if you aren't 100% certain on your training, and you should never be 100% certain on it, you should always look to improve, is record your training day in and day out and make sure that you are improving session over session. Analyze your training, figure out what you need to fix, and run with it the next week, right? That will get you a lot of progress, even if you're not, under a coach like myself or working with any, trainer or anything like that who is also reviewing your footage or training with you in the gym. You can make huge strides in your training performance just by analyzing your own movements and saying, oh, I can be better here. This is what I need to fix. Or, wow, I felt like this connected really well, but looking back at it, this was kind of a shitty movement for me, you know? Like for me, again, on this movement, you'll notice here in some of these later reps, my elbow really just does not come back nearly as far as it needs to. And I put my torso a little bit more into it. There's some momentum, some swing coming, which is fine to an extent, but I really, looking back at it, want to limit that and improve that range of motion with actually getting my elbow back. And, one of the things that I have to think about actively, specific to this movement, is don't hike my, for me, not to hike my shoulder up and pull back, but to, let that shoulder kind of depress and then pull down into that depressed shoulder to really activate the lat, right? So little things like that, just looking back at your training, make big, big improvements. But not a whole lot more to say on this movement, guys, so I am just going to let this one play out, and then we'll hop back in for cable curls and the rest of this session. All right, now starting in on the cable curls for this session. Top set took I think 10-pound progression here, 100 pounds on this top set. Rep goal here is 10 to 15. I do 4 sets. Rep goal is the same for all sets. Hit 15, 100 for 15 on the top set. Felt a little harder than I would have liked, I think, but not to the point where I think I need to take a weight decrease or drop anything down. But I do think, I need to stop being an idiot and not do 10-pound increases on this when I really just need to do 5s. So 100 pounds, this is going to stay the same next week. I really, on this movement specifically, want to hit 17, maybe even 18 reps before I move that weight up again. And then when we do move it up, it's just going to be a little 5-pound increase. I'm not going to take 10-pound jumps on this, even though it's a bilateral movement. So 100 pounds for 15, and then I dropped 10 pounds for the remaining sets, all 3. So did 90 for 14, 14, and 14. Hit 14 on all 3 of the remaining sets. Love this movement over single arm movements. I know people love their single arm movements for arm growth, especially nowadays. There's this huge focus on people doing single, arm movements or unilateral movements for almost everything, whether it's back, arms, delts, legs, everything. And that's fine, but sometimes for me, there are certain movements where I'm just like, if I can crank out a little more weight, it just feels better. And something about the movement here just feels better for me that I can't lock this in the same way with a single arm movement. So I love a good bilateral bicep curl. And for me, again, you'll notice I kind of do these almost like a drag curl to an extent, where I'm keeping the bar closer to the body, keeping those elbows really pinned back, and then just kind of letting the bar almost slide down the front of the body into that extended range, and then contracting hard right back up without moving that elbow at all. I know a lot of people will bring the elbows forward and kind of curl up to the face. That's fine too. If that works for you, if that's where you feel it best, and that's what's, the best way for you to curl, it absolutely works. I get a good contraction that way as well, but I find that after doing a number of sets like that, my shoulders really take over, and I stop focusing on being able to get a connection with the bicep. Whereas with this movement, it's all bicep all the time, and it just really works for me. You know, I've mentioned it before, biceps are a tough muscle for me to connect with to begin with, so I have limited movements that I like to perform to actually work them. This is one of them. Sometimes preacher variants work for me, but I usually more so prefer an overhead cable curl or a single arm overhead cable curl as well. That's a really good movement, you know, kind of curling from the side in towards almost like the forehead or the eye level. So if you don't have anything that you love for biceps, you know, some people do, some people don't. Give those a try. Try some different variations. See what works for you. I almost always prefer cable movements for biceps and triceps, though. I will say that. That is where most people are right. Cables are almost always preferred for those, in my opinion, just because of that constant tension. Now, rear delt fly, reverse pec deck fly. Same weight here this week as last week, just went for rep progressions. 95 for 19, and then 90 for 15, and 90 for 14. That was a 1 rep progression on the top set, and actually it was a 1 rep progression on every set. So 3 total reps added across 3 sets. That's fine. Again, progressions come in the smallest forms at a certain point. No pain here today, no shoulder issues, no elbow issues. These felt good. I did try actually before hopping on this machine. Someone was using it and I was waiting for it to free up. So while I was waiting, I just hopped on a different pec deck that we have and set that up. It has like free rotating handles. I don't remember what machine it is, maybe a Nautilus. Regardless, it has free rotating handles on it. So I tried this with some different grip variations just to see how I like doing my rear delt with like maybe a little bit of an angle to it, either, you know, upward or down, and kind of tilting that elbow up puts a little bit more focus on the rear delt. So that actually felt pretty good. I don't think I liked it enough to really be like, okay, I want to switch machines. I'm going to move to this other machine. I love this. But, you know, this one still is, in my opinion, the best one that I have access to at my gym. But it was nice to try that out. You know, if you guys, whenever you're waiting in between sets, don't just stand there and fucking pick your nose. You know, I mean, if you need time to actually wait and recover, yeah, then, you know, take your rest. I'm not saying hop on another machine and crank out 300-pound fucking rear delt flies, right? But what I am saying is if you don't know how you respond to something and you want to kind of try it without committing to it, then while you're waiting for a machine, put your shit nearby, hop on another one, see how it feels, you know, do some lightweight work, do some warm-up work for that, and play with it a little bit. You know, one of the best things you can do early on in your lifting or bodybuilding career is to just try a lot of different things and find what works for you. You know, everyone always says, find what works for you and do that. That's a process. You have to find things that work for you. You have to take the time to do that. So make the most of your time in and work on it. And with that lecture out of the way there, going to move into my standing calf raise. I think I only got 2 of these sets today. Maybe I got all 3. I don't remember if the camera died here or not. But regardless, 162.5 for 18, 142.5 for 14, and then 117.5 for 11. The rep goal is 12 to 20, so the only one that didn't fall in that range is that last set where my calves were just completely fucking busted. The weights will stay the same across the board next week. None of these weights will increase. Same exact thing. I did, you know, with my calves, try a lot of different things, and this is no exception. I am playing with the structure for the weight across the sets here, where I think last week I did like 162.5 for 2 sets and then dropped it down to like 117 or 120 or something for the 3rd set. This week I changed it so I was doing a drop on every single set, and I did like this a little bit more. You know, again, I'm still pretty fatigued by the time I get to that last set of calves. You know, I feel like I connect really well with the first one, and then the second and third are just like a struggle to get through just because the connection was good on the first one and they're very fatigued very quickly. But I liked this kind of structure, so I might stick with it. In fact, I definitely will stick with it. And we're just going to try and push the reps up next week and keep on keeping on with that. So yeah, that's really about it for this session, guys. I don't have much more to say on it, but like I said, I will be getting this session up today, and then you'll also be seeing a pull session up today. And then tomorrow, you'll get a full day of eating video coupled with the training session video. They're just gonna be, I'm just gonna put them together. It's not gonna be two separate videos, but one full day of eating with my training in that, so that you guys can see what I'm eating about 45, 46 days into the growth / off-season phase. So yeah, on that note, guys, if you like the content, if you want to see more content, as always, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you want to see. Let me know what you are doing in the gym, what you want to see advice on, what questions you might have. I'm happy to answer all that stuff as part of my videos I put out there. And until next time, guys, until the next training session, take it easy.